So, my topic today is local media and policy output, and I'll be looking at local media coverage and how it affects partisan preferences. So, the primary purpose and background here is to find whether local media coverage of a policy can affect a voter's partisan preferences. It's known that every media source has some sort of bias to it. In this case, I'm looking at political leaning due to the nature of the people who write the articles and gather the information. The environment and climate change, this was really just chosen because of, how different the two political parties are. Uh, Mass media, such as magazines and local newspapers, however, have been declining in reach and influence, and it is important to understand the lens through which events and policies are recorded to continue to shape the opinions of those who do vote in local elections, as well as read these sources of media. But academically, the relationship between media coverage and policy output, which itself is influenced by elected politicians, is not exactly well defined. So there have been a lot of attempts to bring a cohesive and comprehensive explanation with some of the theories building off of each other. So there are several prominent theories throughout the literature, but two of them have been particularly influential. These two are the Downs issue attention cycle and Baumgartner's punctuated equilibrium. So Downs issue attention cycle proposes that there's a cycle to agenda setting and policy making. The cycle goes as follows. Public attention is drawn to an issue or topic, usually due to some significant event. Legislative action starts on the issues, from which laws and regulations on the topic becoming increasingly complex, after which the public loses interest and then it starts over. Punctuated equilibrium was not created by Baumgartner, but instead was adapted by him from evolutionary biology to politics. So this theory really suggests that, at least from Baumgartner, that media coverage triggers an external shock to the already established system, which then results in the destruction or reorganization of entities that were supporting the issue. An example of that would be with the civilian nuclear industry. The 3 Mile Island happened, there was a whole drama with the media coverage of it, and consequently, the entire industry fell apart. There's a new equilibrium that ends up dominating for the most part, which was fossil fuels and eventually renewables. So these are just visuals for the theories. There's environmental policy outputs, this is the triangular relationship, the cyclical issue attention cycle from Downs, punctuated equilibrium, and the fourth one, which is a reciprocal. It's more of a feedback loop than an actual theory. So the proposed research design that I would use if I had the chance to actually attempt this would largely just follow a design that's been used in the existing literature, and a few things would be changed to fit the goal that I'm aiming for. The research design is based on what was used in Bakaki's article. So she used a 3 simultaneous equation system, or 3 SLS model. This directly takes into account the error systems of each equation that are correlated, which the 2 SLS system, which is part of it, takes care of. The main changes here would really be the variables. So while Bakaki utilized 6 European democracies for data, I would be using 6 local media outlets in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Austin, Irving, Arlington, and Grapevine. There will also be data for, the median voter preferences, Republican or Democrat, compared to the partisan preferences of the media outlet, whether it tends to favor more left or more intensive policies or less intensive policies, which is the right. Policy output, voter political preference, media political preference, media attention, and citizen concern would all be put into these systems. And that's the end of it.